as a writer and as a singer, and how it made me look at music from a different angle. Instead of Bob's writing a song, band learn the song. We're not really co-writing. Una and I weren't really co-writing, but we were shaping each other's songs and shaping the choice of what songs we were going to use. What's going to be good to harmonize on, and ended up with an album that I'm so happy with. And I know that as I become an ancient old man, I'm going to be, that record's always going to be in a special little place in my heart because I made it with our daughter. We've performed several times together, took a little tour to Norway together, and Michelle went along. Mm-hmm. Had a great time. We've been playing with some other musicians, augmenting our sound. We've got a cellist, Sasha Groshong, who's just an incredible rock and roll cello player. Any kind of cello you want, she can do it. And so getting to do these, some musical experimenting that I've never got to do, play with a cellist. And it has been great to share that with our child. I've had so many musicians go, "Oh my God, I can't imagine what that's like." And I say, "Yeah, it's pretty special because here's this baby that you held, and now
right.
It took me a while to get into the mindset of this is my musical partner. This is not me telling the girl
right.
how to sing. I had to get past that dad part of I've
right.
done this for a long time. I know how we should do it." No, finally when I got to the other side of that, it was like, oh, hear it from her side. It made me learn a lot, and it made me adapt my technique and made me be a better guitar player and a better singer to make it work with her voice. So it's been great. It's been really a good thing to do.
Couple more things before we wrap up. I could talk to you all day, but the dogs need feeding. First of all, your art. You're a painter, and how did you mentioned that right from the outset that you did? Have you done that throughout your life, or as you had more time, and maybe took some time away from music? How did that all develop?
Yeah, there's been chapters where there was not enough hours in the day to paint, but I went to college for visual art and actually have a degree that says Bob can paint. Go ahead and get a job with this thing that says Bob can paint. But when the music really kicked in the 80s, there was just not enough time to paint.
Right.
I mean, I would occasionally do some sketches or stuff, but there just wasn't enough time. And then after I had a family and had a regular job, and that job came to an end, my video work kind of came to an abrupt end. It's like, well, what am I going to do for a living now? It's like, well, you know how to paint and you know how to make songs. Maybe you should just do that. So I disciplined myself and got down to actual putting out some paintings and figuring out ways to market it to the audience that I have. Proudly, with the Rainmakers have a beer audience, not a champagne audience. So you got to make beer paintings. Try to make good beer paintings.
There you go.
No, I love my audience. They have made my life very, very comfortable. So yeah, I paint and during the winter. I try to, that's the painting time. Although this past winter I got a little sidetracked on some other projects. So
right. I've
got some shows coming up this year down at the Farmhouse Restaurant in June, and then at the Unitarian Church in November, and Westwood City Hall in December. And those are all free spaces. I haven't quite ventured into the true galleries in Kansas City.
Right.
It seems like
Plaza Art Fair in your future.
Well, that's an awful lot of work, and it's an awful lot of gamble. And
right.
I've attended it so many times. I've often dreamed that would be so much fun. When I actually started looking into it, it's like, it'd be an awful lot of work.
And finally, your hair. As a person who's always been pretty fastidious about my hair, and I had very long hair for a long time, and now I don't have as much hair as I would like. I'm envious. I'll say that. Your shock of white hair now is unmistakable. The glorious hair on the Tornado album is spectacular. First of all, has that always kind of been a thing for you, or is it just are you one of these creeps who just doesn't care about his hair, but it looks great anyway?
I guess I'm a creep. I pay very little attention to it. Never have It's just never been. It just is there, and I'll whack it off now and then and cut it back a little bit, but I don't pay too much attention to it.
But it is a signature, know that.
It kind of is. I mean, I know if I didn't have it, I would probably notice that. But yeah, it's just always kind of been there, so I don't really think about it too much.
You seem very, very passive about talking about it. But one more question: since you say you didn't care about it, it seems like your change to having a shock of white hair just happened organically, and you didn't go through a phase where you said, well, I'd really rather have brown hair, or what?
I did. Towards the end of the Rainmakers first chapters, my hair was starting to turn gray, and I experimented with coloring it. And pretty soon the gray said, "You're not going to keep up with me," and then that kind of coincided with starting a family and being out of the public eye,
right?
And being comfortable with I'm getting to be older, and I'm okay with that. So yeah, I would probably I can be vain enough to say I'm not a vain person, but if I didn't have my shock of white hair, I'd probably be more self-conscious about it. But I again, it's just luck. It's like I really don't even have to think about my hair because it's just always there, and so I can be kind of vain enough to say I don't really care about it.
There you go.
Which is its own kind of vanity.
Well, it looks fantastic. Let me just say,
folks, I wish you could see it.
That's a goofy, good way to end a fascinating conversation, Bob. And I really enjoyed the journey. And I went and it'd been too long. I went and saw you play the other night, and the fans just eat it up with a spoon, and you seem to still to.
Well, and I've tried to stay alive in it, where instead of just getting up and hacking out a song the same way, experimenting with the songs and playing it solo and playing it with my daughter. And then the Rainmakers will still do our show. I think it's June 8th at Knuckleheads. And then we kind of really get to put the power behind it. And I feel lucky that I have the options to do my music in different ways, in different venues and different levels of volume and all the different, and a cello or whatever, that I've got freedom to try all these things. I feel real lucky with that. So thanks, Kansas City, for giving me a musical home.
And I feel real lucky to talk to you.
You too, Danny. Thanks.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.